In this video, I will share with you the best advice that I was given in my very first job in IT. For those who don't know me, referred to here as Unix guy, I've got about 20 years of experience. I'm currently a cybersecurity executive. I started out as a systems engineer and then I moved to cybersecurity. I work remotely and I'm highly compensated for what I do. The purpose of this channel is to help you get to where I am and hopefully for me to be the mentor that I never had. So I didn't have anyone to help me. Nonetheless, early on in my career, I received this advice from an individual who, funny enough, I really hated this individual in the beginning, and I'll explain why. So before we get into that, I did a degree in computer engineering. It was a very challenging degree. It was a 5 years degree and it was so challenging. I spent days and nights studying. However, I was one of the top performing students in my cohort. So once I finished, I had a little bit of ego, which is not uncommon for fresh graduates. You know, you finish university, you think you're on top of the world, you think you know better than everyone, and I definitely was no exception. So in my very first role, I joined an organization that does support for Unix servers. Needless to say, I knew nothing about Unix servers. Like, I was a good programmer, I knew the concept of what a server is, I knew networking, I knew a little bit of Unix, but I was not a hot shot by any means. And everyone knew it. It was no secret. Even now, looking back, when I hire individuals who are fresh out of uni, I know that they know nothing, and that's okay. Usually your first job is a place for you to learn. So when I started, I was really interested. I wanted to work on these high-end systems in this bank, and I wanted to, you know, do networking, I wanted to do hacking, I wanted to do all of these interesting stuff, and the only calls or jobs I got was for me to go with another senior engineer and really watch him. And I was asked to do strange things like lay on cables, write down serial number of servers, and even like just ridiculous thing, connect a monitor to a server, and which I really hated and didn't make sense to me. To add salt to the wound, one of my professors from uni, he sent me a message on Facebook saying, "How are you going?" at the time, and I told him, "Yeah, look, this is what I do for a job." And he said, "You were one of our top students. I thought you'd go straight into design," which is a strange comment to make now in hindsight, because I know design work, for you to be able to do design work, you need at least a decade of experience, and as a fresh graduate, you're definitely not suited to do any design work. But that's what my professor thought. You know, when you're in academia, you don't know much about the real world. So fast forward to this individual who was, he wasn't my direct boss, but he was one of the supervisors. He was one of the strongest Unix people I've met to date. He was really good at what he does, but he had this really bad sort of bossy behavior. So like he'd send me to a job and say, "Just go lay out the cable and come back," or "Just write down serial numbers and leave." And I'm like, "Can you just give me some more context? Can you explain to me what's this needed for?" And he wouldn't give me the time of the day, and I got really pissed off. I was a fresh graduate, like I said, I was really young and hot-blooded. So I had a chat with him and I'm like, "Can you just like tell me what is it that we do? Can you get me to do more jobs?" And he said, "Look, you're still new, you know nothing," which I didn't take very well at the time. And he said, "If I want to give you an advice, is to never say no to any task." I was like, "Well, what if the task is useless? What if I'm not learning anything?" He's like, "You'd be surprised. Every task I send you, you should be learning something." So he said, "If you're going to take serial number of servers, well, look around in the server room. Most people didn't get a chance to go into a server room." Now, that was a time when most servers were on premise. Now everything is in the cloud, but at the time it was really difficult to get into a server room. So instead of being upset that I was in a server room taking a serial number, I started to look at it as an opportunity for me to look around, learn what the systems do. I started having conversation with the client and say, "Oh, I'm just taking the serial number. Can you tell me more about what this does? Can you tell me more about what you do?" He said everything is an opportunity, and he told me that he used to clean servers, like they used to blow dust on servers. He said even that is a teachable moment, and this advice really set me apart. There was a new generation of servers coming on, and people didn't want to bother learn about them. So naturally, I'm like, "Yep," I put my hand up. I'll do it. Any task, any project, I'm like, "Yep, I'll do it," no matter how small, no matter how ridiculous it is. But fast forward 2 years later, and the amount of knowledge I gained was priceless. This knowledge was not in any book or any certification, but it was that exposure, it was those conversations, it was the fact that I was on my feet all day long just doing what I thought of as small tasks that eventually became bigger tasks, and then I became an expert at what I do. So if there is one advice I will give you if you're just starting your career in tech, or if you want to get into cybersecurity or cloud, is to never say no. Don't be that person who is like, unless it's this type of task, I'll not do it. No, do all the tasks, and everything is a learning opportunity for you. To this day, I still put my hands up to do things that other people don't want to do or think it's too boring. You'll never know what the next opportunity might be, and those small and boring tasks, if you do them well, you get seen, you get noticed, people appreciate that. So yeah, I think this I just wanted to share this with you. This is my story, and it was, just looking back 20 years ago, probably the best piece of advice that I was given. And I keep saying it over and over, I wish I had a mentor. But looking back, while I didn't have a mentor, but I had certain individuals who gave me little bits and pieces of advice that helped me out. So this is why I'm sharing this with you. If you have been given any good advice, or if you have any tip for me or for the other viewers of this channel, please leave it in the comments. I'd like to continue the conversation there.